Hi guys, welcome to part 2 of this Django with Artificial Intelligence series where we are building a convolutional neural network in order to classify the digits that we are writing down in the browser. So in the last video we were able to save the images to our computer, and now it's time to set up the backend. So at the end of the video we will be able to actually send the images to the database and store them over there. We won't do any classification just yet because we need to have a convolutional neural network. We will start building one probably in the next video. So let's get started with part 2, the backend. I have a blank window of terminal open, and I created in the previous video a folder called mnist. So over here we have our draw app, and next to it we are going to create a virtual environment, and let's do it right away. So I'm going to access this mnist directory, and over here I'm just going to write down virtual nv, and let's just call it classify. All right, and now we can access this classify. So let's get inside. Let's activate the virtual environment, and let's install Django. Okay, so now if we list out the elements, we have bin include lib, but we don't have our project folder. So let's run Django admin start project, and let's call our project classify proj. Okay, so now now if we list out the elements, we have our classify proj over here, and I'm going to rename this to source. So classify proj, we want to rename to source. So now we have src, cd src. Let's get inside the source directory, and let's see what do we have over here. Here we have our classify proj. So this is the reason why I renamed it over here. So to avoid the confusions, and we have our manage py file that will help us manage all the administrative tasks. Okay, so now we can run python manage py migrate. Also, let's create a super user. And also let's create an application called digits. All right, now let's open Visual Studio Code Editor or any other code editor that you are using. And before we start working over here, let's take a look at two packages that we need to install right away. The first one is Django REST Framework. So I'm just going to grab this and install Django REST Framework, pip install Django REST Framework. Okay, and the next step will be to add the REST framework to the installed apps. So we need to head over to our classify proj, open up the settings py, and in the installed apps we want to include the Django REST framework. Okay, and also we need to include the REST framework URLs into the URL patterns. So I'm going to copy this, save the settings py, go to URLs, and below I'm going to paste this, and then I'm going to change this to path. And we also need to have include over here, so I'm going to import include and add a comma at the end. Okay, so this is for building our REST API with Django REST Framework, and we will also have to install Django course headers so that we can integrate React with Django. So I'm just going to copy this The links, by the way, are in the description, okay? So let's install Django course headers. Also, we need to add course headers to the installed apps list. So again, in the settings PY below the REST framework, I'm going to add course headers. And by the way, I'm going to add our digits app. Okay. And the next step is to add the middleware. So we need to add it above the common middleware. So let's go to middleware and put it over here. Okay. And also we need to write down the whitelist. So course origin whitelist. I'm just going to copy this and paste it maybe somewhere over here. And then I'm going to bring in the localhost 3000 in my case over here. Okay. So yeah, I think the setup is now completed. In terms of installing those two additional packages that we need right away, we will install more packages a little bit later, but for now these two are the ones that we need. Let's also go to the very end of the settings PY file, and let's add a media URL because we will be using media files. And let's add a media root, and we want to put it inside of our src folder. So it should be next to the classify proj, next to the digits, next to our database, and next to the manage py file. So we can write down os path join and then put in base dir and media. Okay, so now we can save this. We can create inside the source directory a folder called media, and I think we are done for the moment with the settings py file, so make sure to save it. And now we can proceed and go to our digits, because over here we need to start working on the models. So I'm going to create a brand new class called digit, which inherits from models.model, and let's specify the fields. The first one will be the image itself. So this is what we are sending, and this is going to be a models image field, and we want to specify the upload to images. Okay, so inside the media folder we will have another folder images, and this is where we are going to keep our files. So basically with the image field we are going to store the path to particular images that we are going to upload, not the images themselves, but the path to those images, and the images will be stored in the media file. Okay, so now that I look at this, we are using an image field, so we will need one additional package, and we need to install pillow. So pip install pillow. Let's do it very quickly. Okay, and let's continue working on the fields. The next one will be the result, and this is just going to be a models char field with the max length equal to, let's add 2, and blank is equal to true. Okay, max length actually can be, I think, 1. Let's leave it for now 2. Okay, the next one will be updated, and this is going to be a models date time field with auto now equals to true, and we also want to have a created, and this is going to be a models date time field with auto now add is equal to true. And also let's not forget about the string representation. And let's return str self ID. Okay. So later we will need to override the save method, because over here we will provide all the logic regarding the classification and getting the result. But for now we can just put it over here, and let's just return super save, and let's pass in the args and keyword args. We can actually comment it out because yeah, as mentioned before, we don't need it right now. And let's head over to the admin and let's register this model so we can see it in our Django admin. So from .models import digit, and then below admin site register, and we want to register our digit. So let's save it. I also need to save the models py, I forgot about it. And let's go to the terminal, Python manage py, make migrations, Python manage py migrate, and Python manage py run server. Okay. Now in the digits, we can create another folder called API, and inside the API we will need 3 additional files: Serializers py, views py, and URLs py. Okay, so let's begin with the serializers. And over here we need to set up our serializer. So from REST framework we want to import serializers, and from .models we want to import our digit. Okay, so right now we can create a class called, for example, digit serializer, and this will inherit from serializers and then model serializer. And let's specify class meta to indicate the model, and the model will be the digit. And also let's specify the fields that we want. So we want to have, let's say, the ID, the image, and also the result. And this won't actually work because over here we will have an issue with the image, but for now I'm going to leave it as it is. We are going to return to this a little bit later. For now, let's focus on the other parts. So we can head over to the views. Let's save the serializers py for now. Let's jump into the views, and over here let's import from REST framework import view sets, and from models we want to import our digit. Okay, so we can create a class. Let's call it digit view set that inherits from view sets model view set. And let's define the serializer class, and we need to import our serializer class. So from .serializers we want to import our digit serializer and put it over here. And also we want to define the query set, and this is going to be digit objects all. Okay, so we created our view set that we can now register in the URLs py. And over here I'm going to begin always with the import. So from .views we want to import our digit view set, and then from REST framework routers we want to import the default router. Okay, And now we can write down router to be equal default router and router register, and let's write just digits and pass in the digit view set. Okay, and then let's write URL patterns are equal to our router URLs. All right, so this should work. Let's save the URLs py, and let's include this in our main URLs py file. So over here below the admin, we can define a new path, and I'm just going to call it API, and we are going to include, and we want to go to the digits, go to the API folder, and to the URLs py file. Okay, so now we are including those URLs that we defined in the digits API in the main URL patterns. So let's save this and let's see if this is working. And of course we need to run the server, but over here we have an issue. Digits API URLs okay, I made a dot, sorry about that. Let's try it out again. Now everything should be working. Let me try out again, and there it is. So here is the route to our digits, and we don't see anything over here just yet. So let's also check out the admin. Here are our digits, okay? Let's try to add something manually. Save, and we have our first result, and we have page not found, and this is because we forgot to include the media files in the URL patterns. So let's do this very quickly. From Django conf URL static, we want to import static, and also from Django conf we want to import settings, and below the URL patterns let's write URL patterns extended by static, and then settings media URL, and document root is going to be equal settings media root. Okay, so we are referring to the settings that we've done when we started working in the settings py file regarding the media URL and the media root. Document root static settings media URL. Okay, everything should be working right now. I'm going to save it. It's just the server is reloading. Let's go back, and now as you can see this is working perfectly. So I mentioned that we will have a problem while uploading images from our site. When we want to send it to the backend, we already have an endpoint constructed. So basically this is our endpoint, okay? But we have a problem. If we take a look at our front end, and I'm going to open up, right click, and I'm going to click inspect, and then go to the console. Let's not worry about those warnings right now. I'm going to write down 1, save, and this is our image. This is image PNG base 64. So we need to bring this into an actual image. And in order to do this, let's just jump for a second to our React code, and yeah, let's do some work over here. I'm going to import another hook called useState. It will help us manage our state, and we want to maybe create another const over here. This is going to be sent and set sent. So this will refer to the image if it's sent or not. So the default value will be useState, and then we can pass in false. Okay, and then once we send it to the database for classification, we will use set send to change the send to be equal true. Okay, and now we can go to our const send data function and do some work over here. If we take a look at our package JSON, we already installed Axios, and we already also have our endpoint. We won't be using this getImageResult function in this video, but we can do some work with the send data. So below the console log, let's create two constants. The first one is going to be headers, and the next one is going to be fd as form data. So let's begin with the headers. Over here we need to put in accept and then application JSON. In terms of fd, this is going to be new form data, and to this form data we are going to append this C. So in other words, this is what we are appending, and the first parameter is going to be the name, so we are expecting an image, and then we pass in the C. So again, we are passing this in. Okay. All right, so now we can write down Axios. Okay, and I have it, I think, as a capital letter, so let me change it to a small letter. Axios post, and then we need to put in our endpoint over here. So yeah, this is our endpoint. Okay, and the next thing is to pass in the form data and then the headers. Okay, and once we have this, we can create a promise, and if everything goes well, we will have in the console log the results. So let's write down result data, and also the next thing that we want to do is to set send to be equal to true. So set send, we want to set the send to true, because depending on the true or false, we are going to display a confirmation of sending an image to classification or not. And if we have some problems, let's write catch and then error as error, and we want to console log this error. Okay, so this is it. I hope this will be working. I hope we didn't make any mistakes. However, we will still have an error because, as mentioned before, the problem will be the image, and we will need to return to our backend in order to fix this. So yeah, let's try this out. Over here we already assigned this handle submit to the onClick event on the save. So here we can actually change this to sent, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to comment this out. So I don't need to save the images anymore because we are going to try to send them to the database. All right, so okay, let's see if this is working. I'm going to save this and head over to the React app. I'm going to refresh it just in case, and I'm going to write down 1 again, sent, and we have an error and we have a bad request, and this is probably because of the issue that I mentioned before with the image. So what we need to do is to head over to our Django project and go to the digits, API, serializers, and we need to create a serializer for the image where we are going to bring in this base 64 into an actual image. So in the image field in our models PY, we are going to store the path to an actual image that is going to be stored in the media file in the images. Okay, so yeah, let's do this. At the top, let's create a new class, and I'm going to call it base 64 image field, and this will inherit from Serializers image field. And right now we have an access to a method called toInternal value, which takes in self and data. Later we will do some printouts so you can understand what exactly is happening over here, but for now please follow along. So I'm going to create two variables, and I'm going to get them from data that we have over here, split by base 64. Okay, so this is the first step. Then we need to have a decoded file, and this is going to be, okay, we need to import actually base 64. So import base 64, and also let's import UED. Okay, so let's write down base 64 and then B64 decode, and we want to decode the string image. And right now we will need a file name for this decoded file. So we can right now use UED, and I'm going to use UED4, wrap it up with a string, and I'm going to limit it to, let's say, 10 chars, and I'm going to do it like this. So at the end I can put in a .png. Okay, so this should work. We should have a unique name for the decoded file, and we also need to do another import. We will need to have a content file. So below the UED, let's write another import from Django core files base. We want to import content file. Okay, so right now we can set the data is equal to content file, and we want to pass in the decoded file and set the name to be equal fname. Okay, and then we want to return super to internal value, and we want to pass in the data. All right, so now what we need to do is to bring in this base 64 image field to this image over here. So for the image field, we want to use this base 64 image serializer that we created just a second ago. Okay, so right now if we save this, let's see if this is working. So I'm going to check if the server is reloaded over here. I'm just going to reload it just in case, and I'm going to write down 1 again, press send, and it seems to be working. No errors, as you can see. We have actually the data. So we have an ID 2, and this is the path, this is the name over here. Let's actually check it out in the admin. So let's go to the digits, and over here we have our 1. Okay, so this is working. The result obviously is empty because yeah, we don't have a solution ready for this. But right now let's try to understand what's happening behind the scenes. So first of all, let's print data, and maybe let's write down data, okay, and below let's also print the format, format. Let's print the string image. Okay, and maybe we can also print the type of the string image. String image, okay. We can also print the decoded file. As well as type of the decoded file. Okay, let's also print the file name, although this is obvious. Okay, and yeah, let's stop over here. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to head over back to our React app. I'm going to press reset, and I'm going to write down 3, send, and we have another object created. So let's check out in the terminal what is going on, and it's going on quite a lot. So we need to scroll all the way to the top. All right, so here we have our data, and this is basically what we are getting from over here. Okay, and this is, as you can see, yeah, quite long. Okay, so right now we have our format, and we have data image PNG, and then we have our string image. So this is the split that we have done. And let's scroll. Okay, and then we have the type, that is string. The string image is a string, so we want to decode it, and we want to decode it to this, and the type is, let's scroll it again. Come on. The type is okay. So here we have the name. So something's wrong, and okay. So I didn't do print type decoded file. I just did 2 times decoded file. Sorry about this. Let's reset this again. Let's write down 2, send, and over here we have decoded file class bytes. Okay, and then we have the file name. So hopefully this is right now a little bit more understandable what is going on. And the last step that we need to do is to add some kind of a confirmation that we actually send the images for classification. So we need to jump back into our draw.js, and over here let's write down send, and if send is equal to true, we are going to have an alert. So I'm wondering if I can import it automatically from React Bootstrap. Yes, I can. So we will have an alert with a variant set to info, and we can write down something like successfully sent to classification, or something like this. All right, so let's check this out. If sent is going to be equal true, okay, so if this set send will occur, we should get an alert type info that we successfully sent to classification. So I'm going to save this and refresh. 3 sent, and we have successfully sent to classification. So this is obviously a little bit too big, but we won't worry about this right now. The most important thing is that this is actually working. So it was quite a long tutorial. That's why we are going to finish off over here, and probably in the next video in this series we are going to start creating our convolutional neural network. So thank you guys for making it through this video, and yeah, hopefully we will see each other in the next one. Take care, have a great day, and bye bye.